A Florida woman used a gun to solve her relationship problems, bursting into her ex's apartment and shooting the man in her bed.
She crazy. I know she crazy. I seen her like trying to break my window, then I seen her shoot at my car a good 3-4 times.
LaCoria Washington was convicted of shooting Jason Campbell, who stumbled out of a 5th-floor apartment, leaving a trail of blood behind as he tried to get outside and find help. He was soon found dead in the parking lot, wearing only the boxers that he'd been sleeping.
Let that image sink in for a second. A man bleeding out in a parking lot, barefoot, half-dressed, desperately trying to survive. This isn't just a crime scene. This is a system failure unfolding in real time.
Sleeping in.
See a man downstairs in the parking lot, and he's bleeding instead of by a car.
And the shooter took off, tried to hide out in another county, but police tracked her down.
You got a warrant for charges of first-degree murder, burglary.
And it wasn't just Washington's arrest and eventual conviction that made headlines. No, Jason's family filed a massive lawsuit against the apartment complex and the security team that arguably could have prevented his death. And a jury agreed, awarded them a huge sum. We're going to be sitting down with the law firm behind this lawsuit. Our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, they were able to secure a $100 million verdict for the family members that Jason leaves behind. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. By the way, one of the reasons we can follow a story like this is because of the incredible support that we get from our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. This is America's largest personal injury law firm. This is a firm with over 1,000 attorneys who've recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. In the past few months alone, a client in Florida received $12 million when insurance offered just $350,000. Out in Pennsylvania, another client was awarded $26 million. That is 40 times the insurer's offer. And Morgan & Morgan, they make it easy to fight for what you deserve. You can even start a claim from your phone. So if you're injured, you can start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC sidebar. You can click the link below, or you can scan the QR code on screen. Jason Campbell, father to 3 young children, the son of a former Florida state senator. He was just 23 years old when he was gunned down inside of a Miami area apartment.
And here's where this case stops being only about a shooter. Because when a jury awards $100 million, they're not just punishing one person. They're saying multiple layers of protection failed, and someone else shares the blame.
His girlfriend's ex stood trial for his murder. His devastated family filed a massive wrongful death lawsuit, saying if the complex had just followed its own rules, Jason would still be alive today. And you know what? The jury agreed, returned a $100 million verdict in the Campbell family's favor. And in just a minute, I'm going to be sitting down with 2 distinguished attorneys from the powerhouse law firm, our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan, to talk about how they got involved in this case, how they were able to make such a massive win happen, and what's happening right now. But first, I can't get into that if I don't give you the details. So we got to dig into what happened back in 2021 at the Monte Carlo. Now, I just got to give you a quick note. The units at Monte Carlo, they're referred to as condos and apartments pretty much interchangeably throughout the investigation because some of the units are up for rent. Just want to keep that in mind. But in the Campbell family lawsuit, the defendant is identified as Monte Carlo of Miami Condominium Association, Inc. Okay. Now, according to multiple police and court records, it was just after 8 a.m. on Tuesday, June 1st, 2021, when Miami dispatchers started to get these frantic 911 phone calls. A man's body was in the parking lot of the complex, laying on the ground between 2 cars, and witnesses said they heard someone crying out for help.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
I don't know. I seen food yelling and stuff, and he bleeding everywhere. And damn, man. I don't know what's going on, man. He got shot like right here to the blood started right
here. Is he breathing?
And he look like he gasping for air, but you know what that mean, man. Hey, yo, man.
Did you say? So was he shot?
I don't know. So is this 911? Yeah, man. They asking 1,001 questions. Just think about it, man.
We already have help out there.
Hello. Police fire. Where's your emergency?
Hi, I have somebody I don't know any questions. Please don't ask me any. I just know this guy's shot on the ground. That's all I know. And he's dying.
Okay.
That's all I know. Can you send somebody over?
Can you tell me where the
Yes
guy
or no?
And when police got to the scene, they spotted something that would make the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. A trail of blood leading from Jason's body back into the building and all the way up to the stairs to the 5th floor. Bloody handprints were even found on the walls of the stairwell where Jason had fallen in his desperate attempt to try to get away from his killer and find help. But his struggle would end on the pavement outside. And here's the thing. Jason didn't even live at this place. He didn't even live at the Monte Carlo. The woman he was seeing did. I'm talking about Shantia Mears. Now, she had previously been in a relationship with another woman, LaCoria Washington, okay, the defendant in this case. Mears had even told police that she had issues with Washington that went back years, including threats and violence. She spoke with an officer about it during an interview concerning a different interaction with Washington, which we're going to get into in just a minute, but take a look at this.
What's the relationship between you guys?
That's my ex-girlfriend.
When you say ex-girlfriend, just clarification, is that a romantic relationship or?
Romantic, yes.
Okay. How long you guys dated?
For some years.
Years?
Yes.
You guys ever lived together?
No.
All right. And how long ago you broke up?
Months ago.
Months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Months ago.
So security said she let her in, and what happened?
So she let her in, and I had went back in my apartment and locked the door, and she started banging on the door.
Okay. You locked the door. You guys had any previous problems?
Not recently.
What is not recently? When was the last time
like
you had?
In the past few months, no, not recently.
And did she anything in the past that would raise your concern to lock the door?
She crazy. I know she crazy.
But she ever threat to do anything stupid, or she ever?
Not to this extent.
This moment right here is legally critical. The peephole. 1 second, one assumption, and the door opens to irreversible consequences, something defense attorneys would later cling to and plaintiffs would fiercely fight against.
Okay, on what extent?
Like shooting at my car, not to that extent.
I know, but what she done before?
She just like cussed me out, typical cussed me out.
So according to Mears, she and Jason were in bed at 8 a.m. that Tuesday when there was a knock at the door. Now, Mears told police that she assumed it was just somebody from maintenance or pest control, and this is when she made a critical mistake. She apparently didn't check the peephole before she unlocked and opened the door, and it was Washington. Washington pushed past her into the apartment's bedroom and fired, hitting Jason in the chest. Crime scene photos show a bullet hole in the wall, a shell casing on the floor, and police quickly determined that Washington was in fact their prime suspect and that she wasn't even allowed to be on that property in the first place, because that takes us back to around 3 months before this killing. This is when Mears apparently had a different person visiting her, not Jason Campbell, but either way, it seems Washington was not happy.
I noticed I had a missed call from the front gate, so I called them back.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I have a missed call from you, such and such. And then the lady was like, oh yeah, you had a guest at the front gate. I let her in. I was like, who did you let in? And she said, LaCoria. And I was like, you let her in the gate. You wasn't supposed to let her in the gate. And she was like, oh, I didn't know. She said you knew she was coming. I said, that's not how that works. You're supposed to call me and I'm supposed to give you permission.
Yeah.
If I don't answer the gate, then you don't let them in.
Yeah.
You tell them to turn around and keep it pushing, or they gotta wait until I answer the phone. So by that time, she was already in the complex. She crazy. I know she crazy.
She was banging the door?
She was banging on my door for a good 15 minutes.
Do you have like a peephole? Or?
Yeah, I have a peephole.
So you look, you saw it was her?
Mm-hmm. She was like trying to cover it sometimes, and then sometimes I could see her, and I could see her knocking on the door.
Did you see what she was wearing?
She had on a white t-shirt.
A white t-shirt?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did she have anything on her hands? Did you see it?
She had a gun in her hand.
Which hand?
It was in her right hand.
Okay. What kind of gun was it? See it?
I'm not familiar with guns, but it's a black
Let's see if it
gun.
was black. Okay. Have you ever seen her with a gun before?
No, not recently.
But have you ever seen her with a gun?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you see?
When I was looking through the bedroom window, I seen her standing by my car, and I seen her like trying to break my window, and then I see her shoot at my car a good 3-4 times.
Even though you guys had a relationship, I have to get her information, do a photo lineup. Once I have the photo lineup ready, I'm gonna call you, schedule with you, come here with another detective that has no clue about this, present to you the photo lineup, you ID her. Once you ID her, then I have probable cause to arrest her. So then go and arrest her.
So you can't arrest her right now?
No, you have to do a photo lineup first. So that's gonna be on Tuesday, because I'm off today, Monday. So on Tuesday, I'll put a photo lineup, I'll call you, we'll meet, I'll do a photo lineup, and then we can do the process to arrest her.
Surveillance footage that was released by investigators even corroborates what Mears told them, because in one video, you can see Washington drive up to the guard stack at the Monte Carlo. She waits.
Notice the pattern forming: prior violence, prior gunfire, prior warnings. In civil law, this is what attorneys call foreseeability. And once something is foreseeable, ignoring it becomes negligence.
While security calls Mears, then she's eventually allowed through, and then the security camera footage from inside Mears' building shows Washington getting into the elevator. Then a few minutes later, surveillance shows Washington coming back out into the parking lot, heading for a car on the left-hand side of the screen, and according to a police report, Washington shot out the front passenger window of Mears' black Mercedes-Benz, then takes off running across the parking lot. But I'll tell you what, her crime spree didn't end there, because it's kind of difficult to see in the surveillance, but on the way back to her own car, police claim Washington fired at least 2 shots at a red Infiniti, which belonged to the man in Mears' apartment. And then Washington apparently hopped back into her own car and took off. Investigators found 5 .40 caliber casings at the scene. And in addition to recklessly causing damage to the 2 cars, when you do a search of Washington's criminal history, it shows convictions for multiple prior crimes. As a felon, she wasn't supposed to have a gun or ammunition, but it was abundantly clear from the video that she had both. Charges connected to that shooting would later be rolled into her murder case. And a couple weeks after that shooting, in March, police spoke with Mears again, except this time, she was reluctant to say much on the record.
So going back to February 22nd, where the police went to your apartment complex over there, what's the reason the police went there?
Honestly, I feel more comfortable doing all this with legal representation.
You're not under arrest?
I know, but I feel more comfortable doing it with a lawyer.
You understand what the city attorney told you, right?
Somewhat.
Okay. So you don't want to talk to me right now?
I feel more comfortable with a lawyer.
So you don't want to talk to me right now?
Until I get a lawyer.
Okay, you're not under arrest. I'm not asking you incriminating questions, so you don't have that right now. You're talking to me as a witness and a victim. So the Miranda warnings or, have the right to remain silent doesn't work right now.
I don't want to be a witness or a victim.
Okay, no problem. So you also don't want to do the photo lineup?
I just had to do it with a lawyer.
Okay, no problem. The state attorney is going to contact you, okay?
And just 3 months later, Washington would be back on that Monte Carlo property, despite a sign in the guardhouse alerting security that her vehicle was banned. And one day after Jason was shot and killed, detectives spoke with the guard who was on duty the previous morning. This is Deshaun Atkins.
And what are your duties or patrol area within your job?
To log in visitors when they come into the gate.
And that's the front gate, correct?
Correct.
And just to verify, there's only one entrance and one exit, correct?
Correct.
Were you working at the Monte Carlo's apartment on yesterday, June 1st, 2021?
Yes.
What was your shift yesterday?
7 to 3.
What time did you start work?
At 7.
At some point during the day yesterday, did you become aware of an incident involving one of your tenants in the complex?
Yes.
Do you know what the incident was about or what apartment it occurred in?
Not at the moment, until afterwards, after the police came and everything was settled. And then a lot of, resident was coming and telling me.
So the detective showed Atkins a set of photographs, and she was able to identify both Mears and Washington, though she referred to Mears as Miss Mills.
And when you say her girlfriend, who are you referring to?
Miss Mills. resident.
Okay, for the record, the person in photograph number 2 is LaCoria Washington. And you state she's the girlfriend of the person. And how do you know that information?
Because a while back, a couple of months ago, she came inside and she shot the girl Mills' car and a gentleman car. And once we did all our little investigation, we found out that it was her girlfriend. And so that's how, I know that's, they say it's her girlfriend.
Okay. If I'm correct, after that incident, it was documented on February 22nd, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Did the apartment complex put out information pertaining to her?
Well, the only thing they put out to her, that her vehicle that she was in could not come on the premises anymore, on the property.
I also showed you a photograph depicted as number 3 of a person that was caught on video surveillance entering the complex. I'm going to show you that same photograph now. You looked at that photograph and identified that photograph as the same person we're talking about.
Yes.
This detail should alarm anyone who lives in a secured building. A banned person simply parks outside and walks in. At that point, security isn't security. It's theater.
You stated on the photograph that this is also the girlfriend of the person as she walked in yesterday.
Yesterday morning. Yes.
And
it was right before 8 o'clock that she walked in.
And in this photograph she's wearing, can you tell me what she's wearing?
All black, a black hoodie with black and yellow slides.
And this is the person you saw
yesterday morning, correct.
And Atkins confirms that she saw Washington the morning of the shooting, but she wasn't in the banned vehicle.
And do you know why she would have been on foot?
Because her vehicle is banned, so she can't drive inside the apartments complex because her vehicle is banned from the previous incident that she did. So she already knows she can't drive in because we can't provide her with no pass or allow her to go inside at all with that vehicle.
And do you know whether or not she's done that on other occasions?
Yes, she has.
Meaning she would park her vehicle outside
and walk in, correct.
And then she would leave the same way?
Yes, sometimes. Or she probably be, if I see her in the mornings, she walk in the morning, I get off at 3, so I don't see her by the time I leave. She probably leave later on that day or something like that. So I'm not aware.
While you were in your post or in your post yesterday, did you happen to hear any shots fired, any shooting?
No, that's the strange thing. I didn't hear anything.
Did any one of the residents actually come up to you at any point in time and stated that they heard or seen anything?
No, because they were saying when they seen everything going on, they didn't hear any gunshots as well. They said they didn't hear anything. Because normally, like, if they do hear anything, they'll call the guard gate and like, is everything okay? Because I heard this or I heard that. And it wasn't nothing was said.
So Miami-Dade authorities, they put out an arrest warrant for Washington. And police caught up with her a few weeks later in Port Orange. So you're talking nearly 4 hours north of Miami.
Fish car here for me, ma'am? Right here.
Why are you laughing? Because I know you got one too?
I only eat healthy when I'm around that guy. Because he gives that look.
Come on, man.
Come on, bro.
You can't be eating pulled pork all day, man.
I know, bro. If I do it on here,
I told them, y'all gotta try Buc-ee's before y'all leave.
Yeah?
Yeah. All right. Take some quick cuffs on them, man.
Have a seat back here for me, all right?
You call him, I'm actually calling somebody else.
Real quick, man, what's your first name?
Y'all came here for a warrant, right?
Yeah, well, I'm just helping out because I'm not part of all this, all right, as you can see. Well, can you just give it to me and make it easier?
Washington.
Can you spell that for me?
Lakoria, last name Washington.
What's your middle name, Miss Washington?
Shamiz.
With a C or an H?
S.
Excuse me, S. All right. And your birthday? Your birthday for me?
9/13/1996.
All right, you said the first name was Lakoria? Okay. She's less than friendly. She really doesn't have much to hide something, or much to hide where she hides something, but... Officer Manchester, just gonna make sure you don't have anything hidden in your bra
I don't even got
underwear.
no clothes on.
We still gotta make sure people can hide stuff everywhere.
Alright, I'll have you step out right here for me. Just face the vehicle. Nothing sharp, right?
So officers in Port Orange, they know that there's a warrant out for her arrest, but they don't have all the details. So Washington kind of feigns ignorance. Take a look.
So I don't know. So I'm supposed to know why I'm in handcuffs.
I mean, technically you don't really have to know why legally, but I can tell you it's because you have a warrant. You got a warrant for charges of first-degree murder, burglary, well, they're kind of mixed up here. Looks like burglary while armed, and it looks like a felon in possession of a weapon, if I'm reading this right. They use a bunch of abbreviations, but that's your charges. You got no bond. And it's from Miami-Dade.
So how could they just accuse me of something? Where's the statement? Where's the evidence? What do they have?
That's something to handle in court, not right now. Right now, all that matters is you have a warrant for your arrest and you're under arrest.
Now, in the end, Washington was booked into the jail in Volusia County. This is before being transferred back to the southern part of the state.
All right, Miss Washington, step out for me, please. We're just going to walk inside over here for a little bit.
The least y'all they could have did is gave me some clothes, man.
Well, I wasn't there for that decision. I don't have any control over it.
What's this, intimate?
No, these are holding cells. Step off the lift for me, please. Thank you. I'll see you on the bench for a moment.
So in Miami-Dade County, Washington faced 5 charges: first-degree murder, armed burglary with assault or battery, aggravated stalking with a firearm, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of a weapon, ammunition by convicted felon. Now, prosecutors agreed to downgrade this. So the first-degree murder charge was moved down to second degree. They agreed to drop the other charges if Washington entered a guilty plea. And look, Washington, in the end, she changed her plea. She was sentenced on July 5th, 2025 to 12 years in prison, followed by 10 years of probation. She's currently serving her sentence at Gadsden Correctional Facility. This is a women's prison in Quincy, Florida. Now, during all of this, putting the criminal case to the side, there was a wrongful death lawsuit, okay? 23-year-old Jason Campbell was the son of Daphne Campbell, who had previously served as a state senator in the Florida legislature for 8 years. The day after Jason was killed, she posted an update to her Facebook page saying in part, quote, "Carry a child for 9 months with difficulties and end up having a C-section. And after 23 years, you receive bad news. Someone shoots and kills your son." And she says she lost her son to gun violence while he was sleeping, writing, "The killer do not have no heart and killed my son, my handsome son, and left 3 kids fatherless." So Campbell filed a wrongful death lawsuit on behalf of Jason's estate. And she named 3 companies here: Monte Carlo of Miami Condominium Association, AKAM Onsite Inc., which was hired as a property management firm for the complex, and EMS Protective Group, which had been hired to provide security. This is based on a recommendation from AKAM. Now, there were hundreds of court documents that were submitted since the case was filed in January of 2022, but the plaintiff's statement of the case kind of lays out the arguments here. Quote, specifically, on February 21st, 2021, Lakoria Washington was allowed to drive onto the premises. through the front gate by Kent Security, EMS's predecessor, which is not a party to this lawsuit, in violation of the property's protocols requiring tenant approval for non-resident entry. LaCoria Washington claimed to be visiting Shantia Mears as tenant. However, Miss Mears did not grant access to LaCoria Washington. When Miss Mears refused to open her door, LaCoria Washington walked to the parking lot where she fired multiple shots into the vehicles of Miss Mears and Miss Mears' male guest. That February 2021 male guest was not Jason Campbell. Approximately 3 months later, on June 1st, 2021, at around 8 a.m., LaCoria Washington, while banned from the property, returned to the premises on foot and walked through the vehicle access gate. Miss Washington again made her way to Miss Mears' door and knocked. Miss Mears opened the door without looking into the peephole, believing it to be property management or pest control. LaCoria Washington rushed into the apartment's bedroom with a handgun and shot Jason Campbell in the chest. Jason later died from that gunshot wound. So the lawsuit accused each of the 3 companies of negligence. Quote, defendants Monte Carlo, AKAM, and EMS.
When jurors assign percentages of fault like this, they're sending a message. Justice isn't all or nothing. Responsibility can be shared and very expensive when systems break down.
Were aware of the February 22, 2021 incident and failed to take reasonable measures to prevent Washington and uninvited persons with criminal intent like Washington from gaining access and committing crimes on the property. So you go to this trial. Now, this trial lasted a week, and according to an article on the verdict from law.com, it only took about maybe 2 hours for the jury to come back and award a massive sum to these plaintiffs. The verdict form asked the jurors, quote, was there negligence on the part of the following defendants that was a legal cause of Jason Campbell's injuries and death? And there was a check mark by the word yes for all 3 defendants. The jury determined that the property management company, so AKAM, was 57% at fault, with the owners of the condo complex and security group each being 18% at fault. Shantia Mears, the tenant, being 7% at fault, although to be clear, she was not named as a defendant in that lawsuit. But Daphne Campbell was awarded $25 million for her pain and suffering, as was Jason's father, Hubert Campbell. Jason's 3 children, who were just 6, 3, and 1 years old when he died, according to court paperwork, they're going to split the remaining $50 million. Now, in a statement to the Miami Herald, Daphne and Hubert Campbell said, quote, losing our beloved son Jason has caused us unspeakable pain that we would not wish on anyone. This verdict will never bring our son back, but we hope it sends a strong message to all property managers and owners and compels them to provide adequate security before another family suffers like ours has. All right, so now I want to bring in the Morgan & Morgan attorneys that were behind this lawsuit, spearheading it. A lot of questions here. I am joined on set by Thomas Hasty and Grant Gillenwater. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. So nice I got the last names right?
You did.
Okay, good. That's the number one thing. All right, so first of all, explain to me how you both got involved in this.
So the case originally came to me back in 2021, October of 2021, as an intake through our department. Someone called our firm. The family called our firm and said, hey, we want to sign up with you. We had another lawyer, but we don't feel comfortable with what's going on. So they called us for a second opinion. We said, we'd love to look into this for you, and hired us. And then so I litigated the case basically from 2021 to 2024 when I called Grant and I said, hey, Grant, I've got this case coming to trial and I need one of the best lawyers in the country. So I called Grant Gillenwater.
Imagine if you said, I need one of the best lawyers in the country. Do you know anybody? Grant, do you know anybody? Anybody you could refer me to?
Well, look, we take trials very seriously at Morgan & Morgan. Obviously, we are not a law firm. We are a trial firm. And one of the great things that John did years ago, it started with Keith Mitnick. He said, we're going to bring in the best lawyers that we can find, and all they're going to do is try cases. So right now, there are 5 of us throughout the country. That's all we do is we try cases. Keith, Rick, Chris, Brian, McLean, myself. All we do is travel the nation trying our biggest cases. And so the perfect storm that we have is folks like Tom that will litigate the case from inception up until a couple months before trial. They call us up in, they start collaborating with us, and now we're off to the races.
Let me ask you this. Sometimes you have a case, right, and you could say, a roller coaster falls apart or there's a slip and fall, and you say, I can automatically see something was done here, something was wrong, this shouldn't have happened, this is probably a negligent suit, maybe wrongful death. At first glance, when you hear about this, it's a horrible, horrible crime. Did it stand out to you that someone might be responsible, that there was a lapse in security, that this shouldn't have happened at this condo?
Yes. So the information that we had when we were first hired is that Jason had been killed at this apartment when he was visiting another woman. And so that kind of stuck out to me as a weird fact pattern. You know, how did somebody get to the apartment when Jason was there? If he was visiting someone, how did another person get there to start or engage in this argument, which I assume there was an argument? Because of course when we have the intake, right now we have the hindsight, the benefit of hindsight after 4 years of litigation. But at the outset, all I knew was that he had been killed in the apartment with this woman that he had been visiting. So I thought to myself, you know, this person shouldn't have gotten to the door. We don't know how. We didn't really know if she'd been invited or what. And so, yes, it stood out to us as a fact pattern, which, you know, we should look into the security of this property.
And real quick, from a legal point of view, someone can still be held liable, not for something that happens to the property owner, like the owner of a condo or a tenant, even their visitors, they may have a claim. So in other words, the owner, the management company, a security company, they can still owe a duty to someone visiting that property.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what, Grant, during the course of this case, discovery trial, if you can explain to our audience, what did you learn about the lapses in the management's responsibility, the property owner, the security company? What did you learn?
So what we found out and what we got through discovery is we see that no one knew what was going on. Every entity who was involved in that property was all kept in the dark, seemingly by each other. So you've got the property management company whose job it is to perform the day-to-day operations. Their job is to make sure that they're communicating what's going on that property to the board. Then you've got the board, the condo owners themselves, the board of the condo owners, whose job it is to make decisions, to cut the budget, to say, all right, look, we need better security, let's find the money, let's put it over here. But if the property management isn't telling the board doesn't know what to do. And then bring in your third defendant, you've got the security company. Now in this case, the security company had recently been hired by the property manager. Property manager didn't tell security company about all the problems they had had going on months before, so security company is in the dark. They don't know what full extent they need to come in and what services they provide. So you've got all these three defendants who don't know what the other one's doing, but at the end of the day, and we talked about apportionment earlier, and I know you're going to get into it. Yeah. That's where it all boils down to really the property manager, because they were the ones keeping everyone else in the dark.
And I want to get to the specific trial, like what it was like, but talking about the jury's decision here, and they broke it down in terms of responsibility, based on what Grant said, I mean, can you explain how you think the jury came, you know, like 18%, 18%, like how did they come up with who was responsible for what, you think?
So the evidence was exactly what Grant said. The evidence was that the property management company was getting information from security, from tenants, from guests, and then also from the condo association about crime on the property. And they weren't relaying it to condo owners who could make decisions or security who could also make their own decisions. So that failure in communicating the information, they had the football, they were supposed to pass that football to the decision maker. That failure to pass the information, we felt, made the management company most liable for this. Because if security is doing their job and writing up incident reports for things that happen and passing it to the office, what's the next thing that should happen? The office should send it to the board. Should tell the board, hey, we had a shooting, we had a robbery, we had a break into a vehicle. What do you want to do? We recommend you increase security. We recommend you change protocols at the gate, which is ultimately what led to Jason's death. There was a protocol for checking vehicles at the gate. If you rolled up to the gate, you'd have to put down your window, give an ID, say, I'm going to see tenant Jesse. They'd call Jesse, and if you said, yeah, Tom can come up, they'd be allowed through. Mm-hmm. But if Jesse said, no, they can't come through, the car would be directed to make a U-turn and leave. If they didn't leave, they call the police.
Yeah.
So that maintains controlled access to the property. So if they're doing their job, and security's doing their job, and taking incident reports, giving it to the management office should be communicating that information to the board. And so we'll get into it, but there was a prior incident in February 2021
Yep.
where this same shooter came on the property, got through the gate in violation of their protocol, and ended up showing up to the door of the tenant with a gun, banging on the door saying, let me in, I know you got a guy in there.
It was a different person, by the way.
Different person.
Yeah. Before we, again, go to the trial, just want to ask you a follow-up on that. Why was Mears a part of this, right? Why was the tenant a part of this? She wasn't a defendant, per se, right? But the jury, in the end, believed that she was somewhat responsible, too?
In Florida, you can argue that a person who's a non-party bears some responsibility for a negligent incident.
Okay.
And so they felt, well, the defendants argued, that Miss Mears, when she woke up in the morning of June 1st at 8 a.m. to a knock on her door, thinking it was property management, and opened the door and allowed the shooter in, he was bum rushed at the door. The jury felt that she was partially responsible for not checking the eyeglass or the peephole at the door.
Okay, and then you go to the jury, right? You go to the trial. What was it like to try the case, and what was the defense? Was it putting the blame, like you said, was it putting it on Mears? Hey, it was her responsibility. I mean, what was their defense? What were you arguing?
So what you've got three defendants that are all pointing the finger at each other. Imagine, you've all seen it, that Spider-Man meme with three Spider-Mans. They're all pointing at each other.
Yeah.
That's what's going on with the three defendants. And then they're ganging up together to point the finger at Mears. So no one's taken any amount of responsibility. They're all blaming each other, and then they're getting together and all blaming Mears. So the problem is, and what was very difficult about the prep of this trial, is you've got all this information, a lot of facts. It can get confusing as heck. Somehow you've got to distill it and boil it down to make it digestible in a way that a jury is going to be able to say, oh, I see what A did wrong, I see what B did wrong, and I see what C did wrong. And that was hard. But it starts in jury selection with that conversation about, by the way, there's not one defendant here, there's three of them, and then into opening, which Tom gave a beautiful opening. And then throughout the trial, we keep that theme going. We keep the jury's focus on everyone did something wrong here. However, there was one defendant that did the most wrong. And at the end of the trial, it came out that way we presented the evidence.
And I believe it only took them 2 hours to come back.
Under 2 hours, an hour and 47 minutes.
They came back $100 million. My understanding is, what was the highest? Was the offer like a $1 million? I mean, can you explain what that was and how you think the jury came to $100 million?
You tell them what it was, and I'm going to tell how I think the jury came to the $100 million.
Sure.
Fair.
So yes, the pre-verdict offer was $1 million.
Okay.
And
so this was
good tag teaming.
This was the hardest. This was the hardest part of the trial.
Yeah.
To figure out what the value is, because we're talking about a young man who lost his life. We're talking about a young family. We're talking about a mom and dad who, while I told the jury that their son is still their son, Jason's dad goes to the graveyard every week and sits with them. How do you put a price on that? And when we started this trial, Tom and I talked about values and numbers. I talked to some of the other members of the trial team. I always love talking to non-attorneys to get their idea. And numbers were all over the map. Some people told me 15 million was egregious and too much to ask for. Some people said that I should go in and ask for 150 million. And I didn't know what to do. And quite honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do until the morning of the closing. And I was sitting at the JW Marriott in Miami having coffee, and I told one of the attorneys trying the case with us, Patrick, I said, I think I'm just going to talk. I'm going to tell him what I think. And here's what I think. I think, as a human being, this case is worth $200 million.
Yeah.
Because it is. But I also think you're going to think I'm crazy for asking that. And my job for the Campbells is to be an advocate, someone that can talk and persuade and convince, but also show the truth. And in order to do that effectively, you all cannot think I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So asking for $200,000 or $200 million, you can think I'm nuts. So as a lawyer, I'm telling you this case is worth $80 million. And here's where the hard part comes. Because now I've just done the easy part for you. The easy part is 80 million to 200. Somewhere in between there lies justice. And I don't know where it is. But I'll tell you, it's somewhere in between 80 and 200. And now you go find it.
Wow.
And they came back, and they did the right thing.
Yeah.
They found it. They did exactly what we asked. Go find justice.
And speaking of justice, what's the status? Has there been any payout so far?
There has not been a payout yet. We've reached a settlement with the property management company.
Okay.
Which is, the number is confidential, but we've reached a settlement with them, and we are proceeding against the condo association.
Okay. Are you confident that will be paid out to the family in the near future?
Which?
The settlement.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, good.
In fact, Tom just attended a hearing yesterday in Miami to get the minor settlement approved from the property management. So
okay.
We anticipate the family should be seeing their funds probably within the next 30 days from the property management.
Okay. And how's the family doing at this point? How have they been going? I mean, obviously what they went through is unimaginable. It's heartbreaking. You explained it very well. But, you know, going through the legal process is another part. And now this is another part. How are they doing at this point?
They're doing well. The Campbells were actually in our office on Friday. The mom and dad cooked up an amazing Jamaican lunch for us and brought food for the lawyers and our teams, and so we got to have lunch with them, and it was great to see them. Hubert still goes to his son's grave every week. The holidays, even 5 years, 4 years later, were very tough for them. He was in our office a month ago crying about loss of his son, and Daphne's the same way. And so they are still broken, but they are happy that there's a partial conclusion. They are forever happy about the verdict that the jury provided them, the justice jury provided them. And then obviously been in a lot of contact with the mothers as well.
Yeah.
And the kids are doing good.
I ask you that.
And they're getting older every day, obviously. But the kids are doing good, and moms are taking good care of them.
That's great. And Grant, I mean, you think about this. What is the message a case like this sends after trying it, after getting this conclusion?
We never want our verdicts to be messages because they're so personal.
Right.
They're so personal to the family. But at the same time, it should be a cautionary tale of warning that when you, as a defendant, when you as an insurance company have the opportunity to do the right thing, and you are given that opportunity for years, not once, not twice, but dozens of times, and you think that just because you have all the cards in your favor, because you're big, because you're powerful, because you think that no one can come and get you, at the end of the day, truth always finds a way. And what that means is that when truth comes to light, justice comes forward. And that's what trials are about, and that's what the jury system is about. It's not perfect, but it is the greatest system of justice that this world has ever known. And so the word of warning, the message to send to those big insurance companies, those megacorps, do what's right the first time. Because if you don't, there are attorneys, there are firms, there are families who will hold you to task and who will bring truth and justice out.
I don't know a better way to end it. Grant, thank you so much.
Nice
Tom, thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on to explain a little bit more of the work that Morgan & Morgan did in this very specific case. And I'll just say our hearts and our prayers are with that family as they go through this next chapter. And really appreciate you both coming on to explain it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.